Welcome back to our channel 217 Prince YT. Seeing the soldiers getting close, the hunters prepared to fight, but a voice was heard telling them all not to move. They all started to wonder why they were stopping. Wu asked Jin Wu, "What are you doing?" Jin Wu told him, "It's all right, Chairman." The hunters stood there looking at the soldiers that were descending to the earth, and all of them stopped in front of Jin Wu. The sky was filled with shadow soldiers as far as the eye could see. The commander of the army stood in front of Jin Wu, and all of a sudden, a loud thud was heard on the battlefield as all of the hunters saw the massive shadow soldier kneeling in front of Jin Wu, introducing himself as the Grand Marshal Bellion. Gradually, all of the soldiers, along with the dragons, started to kneel in front of Jin Wu. Bellion told Jin Wu, "We respectfully greet our liege." While all the hunters in the back were surprised to see what was going on in front of their eyes, Thomas asked Leonard, "Can you see those creatures?" Looking at the dragons, he thought, even just one of them could threaten humanity. Yet there are three of them gathered in one place. Jin Wu thought, "This is the real Shadow Army. This must be what the previous Shadow Monarch Ashbourne left behind for me." Seeing all this, he thought, now's the start of the real war. A few days later, in the Korean Hunter Association, Wu, along with some other officials, were sitting in a conference room discussing their next move. The foreign press was requesting them to release an official explanation of what happened, and the American Hunter Bureau was also asking for them to reveal Hunter Jinwoo's location. Hearing all the reports, Wu thought, hundreds of thousands of demonic beasts came out of the colossal gate, and they have been absorbed into Hunter Jinwoo's army. Who would have ever thought things would turn out this way? He told the men, "I am well aware of how confused everyone is due to Jin-Woo's disappearance, but this isn't the first time he has disappeared like this." He instructed, "We need to start getting used to this. If we, as the Hunters Association, can't understand the agonies of Hunter Jin-Woo, then who could?" The scene shifted to another place where the signs of battle were visible, and we saw Jin-Woo standing on Tusk's hand as he looked down at his armies that were about to collide. As he was doing that, the Grand Marshal Bellion said, "Holding a practice battle by dividing the forces into two? I've never thought about this kind of military training." Jin-Woo told him, "They can't die, after all." As they were talking, Baru approached them. He kneeled before Jin-Woo, asking for him to test his qualifications for the Grand Marshal position. He stood face to face with Bellion, saying, "As a commander, I challenge Grand Marshal Bellion to a battle." Seeing them, Jin-Woo was excited and gave his permission. As they were about to face off, the army gathered around them to watch the fight. As the battle started, Baru let out a loud scream, and Bellion also prepared by bringing out his weapon. Seeing this, Jin-Woo thought, he also uses a greatsword like Igris, but he's much bigger in size compared to him. Same with his sword. I assume he leans more towards power than speed. In that case, Baru might have a chance. But as Baru got closer, Bellion's sword broke into a whip, and as it landed, it dealt damage in multiple places. Baru somehow managed to dodge it and leaped toward Bellion through an opening in the weapon. But before he could close the distance, Bellion trapped him inside the whip. Seeing this, Jin-Woo thought, is it already over? To think that he neutralized Baru's attack in an instant. His reflexes are beyond what I had expected. Every single strike from him is powerful enough to destroy the earth below him. No wonder he holds the title of Grand Marshal. But Jin-Woo added to himself, he still shouldn't let his guard down, as the greatest strength of an insect is its tenacity. The story shifts to China, Beijing International Airport, where Lu Jigang, along with some other hunters who went to assist Korea with the gigantic gate, had landed and were entering the country while being surrounded by the media, hailed as the proud hunters of China who left to support South Korea in their battle. As Lu was walking away, a man approached him, saying, "Although many are sending their applause towards Hunter Lu for his courageous choice to support South Korea, there are many who think there is no reason for us to aid South Korea." And he asks for his opinion on the matter. Hearing that, Lu gets annoyed and asks, "Who is spouting such nonsense? Do those guys have a brain as an accessory and aren't able to read maps? Do they not realize what country is just above South Korea? If there is anyone stupid enough to say such a thing, please tell them this. I, Lu Jigang, was not confident enough in being able to stop something if Hunter Jin-Woo failed to stop it, so I went to assist him. If anyone has a problem with that, they can go face the demonic beast themselves. But as they entered the city, a horrifying scene awaited them. Lu, looking at it in disbelief, said there was no way, as a gigantic gate was looming in the sky of China. The story shifts to the Monarch of Transfiguration, Yogimont, who was reporting to someone about the recent incidents that took place on Earth, how 3 of the monarchs were eliminated by the Shadow Monarch. Hearing that the Shadow Monarch had turned against them, the entity tells Yogimont, "I will take care of him myself," and instructs the other monarchs not to interfere in this matter anymore. From the side, a gigantic claw of a dragon appears, and the entity says, "We must prevent further losses in our forces." The screen fills with dragons as the entity tells them, "My soldiers, prepare for battle." Meanwhile, back on Earth, the fight between Baru and Belian was coming to an end as Baru was smashed to the ground and a sword landed next to his face. We see Belian standing victorious over Baru. The battlefield fell silent after the fight was over, but Baru, struggling to get back to his feet, tells Jin Wu, "I can still go on." Seeing him like this, Jin Wu asks, "Why are you so obsessed with becoming the Grand Marshal?" Baru tells him, "I shall become the Grand Marshal and always be by your side." Hearing that, Jin Wu tells him, "Then the Grand Marshal can stand on my right, and you can be on my left." Hearing that, Baru got emotional and was about to say something cheesy-like from a drama that he had watched, but Jin Wu tells him not to do that. Seeing all this, Igris also comes to ask permission to challenge Belian, but Baru stops him, saying, "You can be behind me." All of their attention turns towards the side, and they saw a crowd of shadows cheering as the dragons and Tusk prepare for something. All of a sudden, the dragons let out a powerful fire attack toward the sky, showing off their power. But seeing this, Tusk smirks, looking at them, and using the power of the Orb of Avarice, he launched a massive fire wave toward the sky that was even more powerful than all of the dragons' attacks combined. It was visible from far away from the island, and the whole area lit up. Seeing this, the dragons felt annoyed as Tusk was flexing his strength in front of them while being cheered by the army below them. Seeing all of this, Jin Wu thought, "Isn't it cheating to be holding the Orb of Avarice during the competition?" He sees some soldiers carrying materials and asks Belian what they were doing. He tells Jin Wu, "They're planning on making a small place to stay so you can rest comfortably for the time they're here." He asks Jin Wu why he wasn't calling back his soldiers into his shadow. Jin Wu tells him, "I just wanted to let them take a breather as they were stuck in the dimensional rift until we came here." He asks Belian if he wasn't sad about the fact that he is no longer able to meet Ashbourne, the previous Shadow Monarch. Belian tells him, "I was by his side when he was facing the rulers that opposed the Absolute Being, and I self-proclaimed myself to be his first soldier when he obtained the power of the Shadow. I have been by his side for almost an eternity and never once doubted his decisions." Jin Wu tells him, "I want to hear the story of you and Ashbourne," and Belian tells him, "It may turn into a very long story." He tells Jin Wu, "It was when I was still a fruit of the world tree." He explains, "All of the soldiers of the heavens are born on the branches of the world tree in the form of a fruit, and it's a tree large enough to cover the entire sky with its branches." Fast forward, we see Jin Wu cooking for his family, thinking, "I must let people know about the existence of the 8 armies who may arrive at any moment and let them know that a war is nearing. I cannot promise the safety of everyone, nor can I promise that the world will stay the same as it has been." That's how great the power of the King of Dragons was when I witnessed it through Ashbourne's memories. Meanwhile, Jaina was praising Jinwoo's cooking, telling her mother, "I never knew my brother could cook this well." Looking at them enjoying the meal, Jin-Woo was thinking, the King of Dragons, along with his armies, brought everything in front of them down to ruins and ashes, and such enemies are now targeting the earth, and that's why everyone needs to prepare themselves for what's to come. Seeing him like this, his mother asks, "Is something going on?" She tells Jin-Woo, when his father was about to do something dangerous, he often cooked me a meal like this. Saying, "You really take after your father," Jin-Woo assures her, "It's nothing like that," and starts to go to the door saying, "I think we have a visitor. I'll answer the door." Jaina tells him there wasn't any doorbell. As he opens up the door, he asks the person for the reason for his visit. It was Jinho's father, Yu Myung-han. He apologizes for visiting like this without notice and asks if Jin-Woo could give him a moment of his time as they were walking Yu Myung-han told him. I woke up from eternal slumber because I thought I was special, but then I realized that such miracles wouldn't happen so easily. Since the only people who have ever woken up from an eternal slumber were me and your mother, I couldn't help but suspect it was you. Turning towards Jin Wu, he asks, Why did you help me? Jin Wu tells him, Because I decided that you are a trustworthy person. If you were a person who would do anything to get what you want, I wouldn't have risked danger to save you. Hearing that, Yu Myung-han tells him, I don't know how to show my gratitude, and asks Jin Wu to let him return at least half of his favor and asks if there was anything he wanted. Hearing that, Jin Wu tells him, There isn't anything I want. However, if something happens to me, could you take care of my mother and sister? Fast forward, we see Wu showing Jin Wu the footage of the colossal gate that appeared in Shanghai, China. He tells Jin Wu, it's not just in China. 8 more colossal gates appeared all around the world. He asks if these are also Jin-Wu's soldiers, but Jin Wu tells him, no, they are our enemies, and asks Wu if he trusts him. Seeing him like this, Wu tells him, yes, I do. Jin Wu gets up from his seat, saying, please trust what I am about to show you. He places his finger on the chairman's forehead and transfers all the memories related to the king of the Mad Dragons and the soldiers of brilliant light into his head. He sees all of his past experiences from the dungeons and gets overwhelmed. Jin Wu removes his finger from his head, and he starts to panic, saying, impossible! How could such things exist? He tells Jin Wu, I had always thought that the power of hunters was a blessing for humanity, so I thought we needed to protect humanity by fighting against the demonic beasts. But if what you just showed me is really true, then my thoughts would have been nothing more than haughtiness. Panicking, he thinks, I was misunderstanding everything. To think that the awakened are the only people who are able to survive after the true war, as if they are filtering out so that only certain humans live. This is not the war between humans and the monarchs, but the war between the monarchs and the rulers, between 2 groups who possess enormous power. He turns towards Jin Wu, asking if he is planning on fighting against such enemies all by himself. Jin Wu tells him, yes, I am. Sweating, he asks, how could we be of assistance to you? Fast forward, we see a hall filled with hunters from around the world. Wu asks a man if any more of the hunters were coming. He tells Wu, no, sir. Only the 152 countries I've reported to you this morning. The man asks him, just what did Hunter Jin Wu tell you yesterday in the office? I've never seen your face become that pale. Wu thinks about the army of dragons appearing from within darkness and the single dragon flying behind the army of dragons, the majesty such that even when every single hunter in the world gathered up against it, they wouldn't be able to even leave a scratch. The pressure from the power was enough to burn down all the lands in the world with a single breath. He felt it and wonders just how Hunter Jin Wu is planning on fighting against them. He calls Jin Wu, telling him he had gathered the representatives from every country, as you instructed, and asks him, where are you right now? As he was still on the call, Jin Wu appeared behind him, saying, I've just arrived. He puts away his phone, saying, I guess asking for your location is meaningless now. He tells Jin Wu that there will be chaos when people find out about it, and that some countries won't be able to handle the chaos. Jin Wu tells him he is aware of that, and Wu is concerned about the consequences, saying, if that's really what you think, the truth will be uncovered to the world. Director David Brennan sitting in a conference room, thinking there are quite a lot of people gathered here. Presidents, prime ministers, guild masters, and even the chairman of the hunter associations. Everyone must be feeling nervous about what Hunter Jin Wu wants to tell them. It would be great if Hunter Jin Wu would say the gates won't cause much harm, like last time. But if he were to say something completely opposite, everyone will have to go through a rough time. After some time, Jin Wu started to speak. He told the people present in the room that no one would be able to avoid the fight. They would appear before their eyes and bring destruction upon everyone. After hearing that, some people did not believe what Jin Wu had said, and they asked if he was saying that even national-level hunters wouldn't be enough to stop them. Jin Wu told them at least a couple of 100 demonic beasts on par with Kamish, which is considered to be the world's worst disaster, would appear. So not even national-level hunters would be able to stop them. The crowd started to demand proof, saying otherwise they wouldn't be able to believe what you're saying. Hearing them, Jin Wu started to raise his hand, and everyone was horrified to see what was in front of them. They saw multiple gates appearing behind Jin Wu. The officials started panicking after seeing this, thinking he had the ability to create gates, multiple ones at once. Jin Wu told them, "Our enemy can create gates whenever and wherever they wish, just like how I did. They're only taking their time due to the massive size of their army." A man sitting next to the director started shouting, asking, "Could it be that you're one of them? And the soldiers you brought from the previous gate, did you bring them to kill us?" But in the next second, shivering, he tells Jin Wu, "Of course, I trust you, Hunter Jin Wu." The director asks Jin Wu, "Now that we know what will come from the gate, what do we need to do?" Jin Wu replies by saying, "Please stay away from the gates. Get as far away as you can from the gates." Fast forward. We see the empty cities after the warning that Jin Wu gave in the conference, as his speech created a massive ripple effect, with the warning that humanity will not be able to handle the number of demonic beasts that will come from the gates. Everyone tried their best to get as far away from the gates as possible. We see Jin Wu discussing with Igris about the war that is about to come. Igris tells Jin Wu, "We don't stand a chance in an all-out war." We see Beru and Belian on the ground as Jin Wu asks Belian, "How much bigger do you think their army will be compared to ours?" Belian tells Jin Wu, "I'd expect their numbers to be at least 100 times larger." Hearing that, Jin Wu thinks that means they'd have at least 10 million soldiers. The story shifts to Canada, where their S-rank Hunter J. Mills is being interviewed. He tells the people that he does not believe a single word that Hunter Jin Wu told in the gathering of the world leaders. The interviewer tells him, "Hunter Jin Wu is one of the greatest hunters in the world. So wouldn't it be wise to heed his warning?" Jay replies by saying, "No matter how great of a hunter he is, not everything he says is the truth." The story shifts back to Jin Wu, where he calls Beru and asks him to drop on the ground. Beru does as instructed, and Jin Wu asks, "You call this a nice place I can stay in? Aside from its size, is it even meant for me to live in?" Beru replies, "I thought anything less wouldn't suffice for you, my liege." Looking at the huge castle, Jin Wu asks, "Why did you put up that flag?" Belian falls to the ground and Jin Wu asks, "Was that your idea?" Jin Wu asks him, "What will happen to the Shadow Army after their monarch dies? Would you be in charge of the Shadow Army if I were to die?" Belian explains, "Their lives are one with the Shadow Monarch, and so the moment you pass away will also be the moment we perish." Fast forward, we see Wu showing Jin Wu the interview of Hunter J, in which he was calling Jin Wu's warning a bluff, saying they will fight against the monsters coming from the gates. Wu explains that hunters have been gathering in Canada, with J. Mills as their leader. Additionally, it seems that other strong hunters from other countries have also been preparing for a raid. He asks Jin Wu what he was planning on doing. Jin Wu tells him he will head to China to assist them with the dungeon break while thinking, "It's impossible for me to face all 8 armies at once, so I need to get rid of the threat that's closest to Korea first, since they will be the biggest threat to my family. I will take care of the other monarchs after I'm done clearing the gate in China." The longer the battle goes on, the higher the chances of us winning the war. Fast forward, we see Jin Wu landing in China, where he is greeted by Hunter Liu Jigang. Jin Wu asks why he was there instead of government officials. Liu tells him, "They were making some stupid placards, so I decided to greet you myself." As they started to walk, Jin Wu noticed that the gate was so large that it was even visible from the airport. As they arrive at the location, Liu shows Jin Wu the hunter team that was gathered under the gate to assist them in the raid. He tells Jin Wu that this is the 100,000 hunter army of China. Seeing all of them, Jin Wu thought, if there are 100,000, they might stand a chance in this war. Liu explains, "This is our elite army, where we have not only numbers but also skilled individuals." After all the preparations were complete, Liu told Jin Wu it would start soon, and Jin Wu started to summon his soldiers. Seeing them, Liu was amazed, thinking he was on another level. He asked Jin Wu if all of these were his summons, while Beru told Liu, "The left side of the king is my place. Who dares to take my place beside the king?" Jin Wu tells him, "He's on our side." As they were talking, the gate started to break. Jin Wu was waiting for the monsters to start falling from the skies, but nothing happened. Belian approached Jin Wu, saying, "It's strange. I don't feel any presence from the gate." Hearing that, Jin Wu realized something and asked Belian, "What about all the other locations?" Belian reported that according to the other shadow soldiers, They all seemed to be the same. Jin-Woo realized that all the gates were empty. He thought they created different gates across different parts of the world to divide up their army, but they probably put all their forces in the gate furthest away from me. The story shifts to Canada, where many hunters had gathered to fend off the monsters that were about to appear from the gate. Jay Mills was at the front, saying, "To think that everyone is mindlessly relying on Hunter Jin-Woo." And we see a crowd of protesters shouting, "We will not give up Canada. Our hunters will protect us and the land." All of a sudden, the gate started to break, but nothing happened. All of them were standing there, wondering what was going on as demonic beasts were supposed to be pouring out of the gate. Some said maybe Jin-Woo was bluffing, but as they were discussing, a humanoid entity started to appear from the gate and stopped, hovering over them. Seeing the entity, they thought it was just a human. After some time, the entity landed in front of Jay Mills, asking if he was their king. While Jay was looking at it, thinking that's not a demonic beast, one of the hunters from the back tells Mills, "There is nothing to be surprised about. Demonic beasts are capable of making their own gear, and they use the runic alphabet and live in a strictly hierarchical society. In other words, they have a level of intelligence similar to that of humans. They simply did not wish to communicate with us until now." Hearing that, Jay was smirking, thinking, "I knew it." This was how Hunter Jin-Woo was able to make the soldiers from the first gate his own. He was able to communicate with them like this. I guess they ask who their king is and obey that king. So he foolishly asks the entity, "What if I am the king?" But the entity, ignoring him, says, "Looks like he's not here." 10 minutes earlier, back in China, we see Jin-Woo asking the officials, "Is there no way to confirm what's going on in Canada?" The person tells him he will try something. Jin-Woo calls Adam White of the Hunters Bureau and asks him what is going on with Canada's colossal gate. But as he hears the crowd from the back, Jin-Woo realizes that White is also in Canada. He asks White what he was doing there, and White explains, "We are out on the site of Canada's colossal gate together with other agents." Jin-Woo asks the reason for them being there. White tells him, "We couldn't just sit and watch the situation in Canada. So many of us agents, including me, have been dispatched here." Hearing that, Jin-Woo thinks they still don't realize the scale of the enemy's army and asks what was the condition of the gate. White tells him the gate is empty, just like the other gates. It was very quiet on site, and Jin-Woo let out a sigh of relief. But White suddenly told him something was coming out of the gate. It was a person. Hearing that, Jin-Woo's eyes widened. He shouted, telling White to run away from there as far as possible. But with a flash of light, all the hunters in the front were turned to ash. Jin-Woo told Adam, "You still have time to run away while you still can." But White was stunned to see the army that was coming out of the gate. He told Jin-Woo, "Dragons are coming from the sky. There are an endless number of dragons and beasts coming out of the gate. How could this be? All kinds of demonic beasts have gathered in one place." Jin-Woo thought, "Now that it has come to this, I need to save White. If I just control the shadow I put on him." All of a sudden, a high orc appeared in front of White. Jin-Woo told him he was going to teleport him away from that place. But before they could teleport, the entity approached White, saying, "Where do you think you're going?" Seeing the entity, White was terrified, and with a shaky voice, he called Jin-Woo's name. In his final moments, he saw a fireball coming straight towards him. We see Jin-Woo, who, after hearing a loud blast, knew he was too late. He thought, "I should have expected this. They know they're up against my shadow army, which becomes stronger the longer the fight lasts. My opponent would minimize the number of battles by gathering all their forces at a single location." They opened 8 gates, as if they were following their original plan. By then, they sent their entire army to the gate furthest away from me. Even if I were to move over there immediately, I would end up in an all-out war. My plan to buy time went down the drain. Back in Canada, Antares, the king of dragons and the monarch of destruction, was smirking, saying, "The sound of living persons' heartbeats, the sound of their screams, and the sound of the destruction of creatures resonated like music in my ears." He told the other monarchs that they were done with the preparations and ordered the army to destroy everything, saying, "That is the sole mission of our existence." Fast forward. We see a man in his office looking at the footage of the destruction caused by the army of the Monarchs. The person said, They must have all died. The hunters, agents, and the reporters on the scene. It was director David Brennan, who was thinking, hundreds of dragons, along with oceans of giants, beasts, and insects behind them. This disaster cannot be contained by humans. It's all over. There is no way to stop such an army. It's only a matter of time before they arrive in the US. Now I understand why Hunter Jin Wu advised everyone to stay as far away from the gates as possible. As he was thinking about everything, a shadow started to appear in front of him. It was Jin Wu. He seemed in a hurry and told the director, "I'm paying you a sudden visit because I'm looking for something." He asked for the runestone that was extracted from the corpse of Kamish. The director was surprised and told Jin Wu that the runestone was managed by the Hunters Bureau, but he remembered the situation they were in and apologized to Jin Wu, saying, "I'm still a little drunk right now," while thinking, "What am I even saying? Why does the Hunters Bureau even matter anymore? Those runestones mean nothing if the entire US is about to be destroyed, let alone the Hunters Bureau." He told Jin Wu, "I can hand over the runestones, but why do you need them?" Jin Wu told him he was planning on launching a counterattack using the power of those runestones. As they were making their way to the room containing the stone, the director asked Jin Wu, "If beings called rulers sent those demonic beasts here, then what are these runestones that are inside the demonic beasts' bodies?" Jin Wu explained that these were just gifts from the rulers to help humans hunt down demonic beasts more efficiently. He explained that when a demonic beast dies, their abilities are sealed in these runestones. Rulers created runestones to help humans get strong, so they might have a chance of survival in the final battle against the armies of the Monarchs. Hearing that, David asked Jin Wu if he was really going to be able to stop the monsters with these, and Jin Wu told him, "I'll have to try." After he had acquired the runestone, he asked the director for another favor. The story shifts to Lady Selner, who says, "I never thought someone would come looking for me at a time like this." She asks Jin Wu for his identity, saying, "You are not the person I know. In the past, the darkness existed deep inside you, but now you are darkness itself." Jin Wu tells her, "I'm the same person you know, but I simply became one with the darkness you saw back then." He asks her if she is really able to see the future and requests her to look into his future. She tells him, "I understand," and takes his hand. After a bit, tears start to come down from her eyes, and she asks, "You really plan to take everything on by yourself? How could a single human carry this much by themselves? Are you planning on protecting everything by sacrificing yourself?" Hearing that, Jin Wu starts to get up, saying, "Thankfully, that means I can get there at least." She tells him, "No one will be able to remember. It'll be a lonely fight by yourself." But Jin Wu starts to teleport away. We see Jin Wu standing on top of a tower. He takes out his phone and calls someone. The person asks if it is really him. Jin Wu apologizes to the person, saying, "I've been busy lately." It was Hunter Cha, who was telling him, "It's okay. I've been busy as well." Jin Wu tells her they haven't seen each other for so long and that they will meet soon. Cha asks Jin Wu if he can promise her something, asking him that he will come and see her. Jin Wu tells her, "I promise I will do that." She gets happy after hearing that, and as she is thinking, Hunter Choi startles her by saying, "We should get going now." We see all the hunters from around the world gathered there. The Asian Hunter Alliance, the European Hunter Alliance, the African Temporary Guild Union, and the Chinese Emergency Response Alliance. Hundreds of thousands of hunters are on their way to the battlefield. The story shifts back to Canada, where Antares was standing on top of countless bodies of hunters that were defeated in the war. He lets out a massive mana wave for Jin Wu to know his location, saying, "I'm right here." The wave was so powerful that it was felt all around the world and reached Jin Wu. Antares says, "I've already taken the lives of tens of millions of your kind. How much longer are you planning on hiding for?" Jin Wu says, "I will come and meet you soon." Fast forward, we see Antares standing on top of a building, thinking he has been silent. What is he trying to do? He wonders, since he's up against an army of 10 million, going into battle head-on would be nothing more than suicide. He might have run away to the bottom of the abyss. As he was thinking, a rocket crashed straight into his face, followed by many more that were coming straight toward him. The area was covered in a huge explosion, and we see military planes flying in the sky. They reported that they managed to hit the target but could not confirm if the attack was effective with the naked eye. As they were trying to confirm if they managed to take out the creature, the place started to light up and a gigantic eye appeared in front of them. They saw a humongous dark entity standing in front of them. The creature said, "How boring," before taking out all the soldiers present in the area. The story shifts back to the castle that the shadow soldiers built for Jin Wu. Inside, Jin Wu is sitting, planning his next move. He looks up behind him and sees writing on the wall. He gets happy, thinking about Baru and thanking him. Baru appears from the shadow with tears in his eyes, knowing that Jin Wu was planning on facing the Monarch of Destruction. Belian also appears, telling Jin Wu, "It's far too dangerous." Igris says, "I share his thoughts." Jin Wu tells them, "I know that you're worried about my safety, but there are times when I can't let danger prevent me from doing what needs to be done." Jin Wu asks Belian, "If Ashbourne were put in the same situation as me, what would he have done?" Belian tells Jin Wu, if it was him, he wouldn't have let anything stop him from doing what needs to be done. Hearing that, Jin Wu starts to smile, and as Belian looks at him, he sees Ashbourne in Jin Wu and thinks he resembles him. Knowing that they can't stop Jin Wu from doing this, all three of them kneel in front of him, and Belian tells Jin Wu, "I will stand beside you until the end, my liege." Hearing that, Jin Wu starts to get up, and they begin to head towards the battlefield. As they are going, Belian asks Jin Wu, "Shouldn't you contact your family?" Jin Wu tells him, "No. If I were to hear my family's voice right now, I don't think I would be able to proceed." The story shifts to the battlefield, where a plane was being chased by a dragon, and in the next second, it was destroyed by the creature. But the pilot managed to eject just in time and landed on the ground. As he was making his way towards safety, a horrific scene was waiting for him. He saw a bunch of demons blocking the path and killing everything that moves. The man, sweating, was thinking about how he was going to survive in this situation and felt a liquid fall on his shoulder. As he looked behind him, he saw a monster coming toward him. As the creature was about to end him, the man managed to jump out of the way. He picked up his weapon and started to shoot at the creature. He unloaded the whole clip on the creature's face, but it was no use. He stopped, accepting his fate, and saw the monster coming straight towards him. He closed his eyes, but as he opened them again, he saw the corpse of the monster in front of him. The man was trying to figure out what just happened, and as he looked in front of him, he saw Jin Wu who had saved the man. He turned towards the man, instructing him to run as a bunch of monsters were charging right towards Jin Wu. The man screamed, trying to warn Jin Wu of the incoming threat. Jin Wu raised his weapon and, with one swing of his daggers, slashed through all of the monsters without moving an inch, saying, "This is the first step of the war. I will start with these guys," and used shadow extraction on the dead monsters, turning them all into his soldiers. The story shifts to Antares, who had sensed the presence of the Shadow Monarch. He told the other monarchs about his arrival. Yogyamut suggested that they should bring all of their forces and launch an attack on him right away. Tarnac told them he couldn't sense the army of the dead among his soldiers. He must be spreading his forces out to cover a wider area. Hearing that, Antares thought he must be trying to absorb their forces by going alone into the battlefield. He's trying to buy some time by avoiding a direct battle and wonders what the Shadow Monarch is aiming for. Back in Korea, we see Wu looking at the news, where they were talking about how the hunters who went to subjugate the demons were wiped out, along with the military dispatched by the US government to buy time for the civilians to evacuate. Seeing everything, Wu thinks about the disaster happening on the other side of the earth. After Canada, even the US, with the most powerful military in the world, is being helplessly destroyed by the monsters. So now, the only thing humanity can do is pray for a miracle and wonder just what kind of a miracle can stop them. We see the situation on the battlefield, where hundreds of new shadow soldiers have joined the army, just like a huge tsunami engulfing everything. The darkness of the shadows slowly started staining the battlefield. We see a flash of purple light cutting through everything in its path. It was Jin Wu, who was taking out the creatures present in the area, increasing his army in the process. As he was doing that, he was spotted by a giant-type monster that attacked Jin Wu using his weapon with such force that the impact was visible from a distance. But from the dust, Jin Wu appeared, having managed to evade the attack. He charged towards the creature, targeting its leg, and chopped it off with one swing of his dagger. Not giving the creature any time to react, the shadow army charged towards it, overwhelming the creature and taking it out of the fight. As Jin Wu was standing in front of the creature, he noticed something. He looked up, and above him were dragons covering the sky and coming straight towards him. Seeing the flying lizards, Jin Wu thought, did the army of doom start moving? Since I can't sense the Dragon King, I don't think they're planning on making a move just yet. But there's nothing to be disappointed about since there's a lot of time left. If he's hesitating to make a move, I just need to provide a reason for him to do so and use shadow extraction on the defeated giant. As the lizards get close, a shadow reaches out and starts to attack them. It was the same giant monster that Jin Wu had just defeated, and as the creature was taking out the dragons, a massive fireball was seen in the sky. In an instant, the giant was torn to shreds by a powerful fire attack. We see a gigantic dragon in the air. The creature says, "Who dares try to oppose the great Dragon King with mere puppets made of mana? As someone who serves the Dragon King, I will destroy you." As the creature is talking, it fails to notice Jin Wu, who was already standing behind him. As the creature looks behind him, he sees Jin Wu coming straight towards him. Using Kamish's blade, Jin Wu slices the creature's neck like butter. As the creature dies, Antares senses that Jin Wu managed to defeat the army of dragons that was sent to take him out, and he comments, "The Shadow Monarch is becoming stronger." He decides to attack Jin Wu at once and instructs Yogimont to stay behind and wait for the Shadow Army's ambush. We see the sky filled with many gates, and the Monarch of Destruction says, "I won't let him go." The story shifts to another place where the army is trying to contain the situation on the streets, but their weapons have no effect on the creatures. Seeing the situation, their commanding officer orders the soldiers to keep firing without worrying about saving ammo, as this way they can at least stop them from moving by shooting them in the legs or arms, making time for the backup of the hunters to arrive. But it was no use, as the creatures managed to close in the distance and started to take out the soldiers. An ogre charged towards the soldiers, and as the creature got close, it was punched in the face by someone and went flying back. It was Thomas, who had arrived on the battlefield. Smirking, he told the soldiers, "I have seen all of them in dungeons before. There were a lot of them, but they weren't all that tough." Seeing him, the soldiers got happy, thinking now that Thomas was here, they were saved. Thomas sensed a strong presence in the area and turned toward the location, saying, "You are the human from last time." We see Tarnac among the creatures, looking at Thomas. Tarnac comments, "A weak vessel who nearly died at the hands of the beast monarch." He tells Thomas, "I am the king of the monstrous humanoids, the monarch of steel body. Surely you realize that I could take your life in the blink of an eye." But Thomas wasn't intimidated and told him, "Is that really what you think?" We see shadows emerging behind Thomas, who was telling him, "I'm not very fond of confusing things." In the next second, Bellion appeared at Thomas's side, saying, "It's been a while, monarch of steel body." Seeing all the shadows with Thomas, Tarnac was confused and asked, "Why is the Shadow Army here?" They must have been hiding within the human shadow while concealing their presence. He thought, "I must notify the Dragon King," but for some reason, he was unable to do so. As he turned around, he saw Tusk, who was preventing him from contacting the other monarchs. Looking at the situation, he thought this strategy couldn't have been conceived by the Shadow Monarch or his soldiers. It doesn't correspond to the way the Shadow Army does things, which is to sentence the enemies in front of them to death. Furious, he started to transform, thinking this is the way of the humans, and shouted, "He does not qualify to be a monarch." Hearing that, Baru, all charged up with mana, started to approach him, saying, "Take back what you just said. It's a heavy sin to insult my king." Hearing that, the monarch snapped, saying, "A mere soldier dares to stand in the way of monarchs," and fully transformed, towering over Baru as they prepared to fight. The scene shifts, and we see the Shadow Monarch and the Monarch of Destruction face to face as they both face off. Antares thinks, "I can't get in contact with the Monarch of Iron Body," and wonders if he betrayed him, or could it be the doing of the Shadow Monarch? All of a sudden, he launches an attack towards Jin Wu, thinking, I must kill you for sure. Jin Wu, who wasn't expecting him to attack so suddenly, was standing there stunned. As Antares stopped, the area where Jin Wu was standing was completely destroyed. As Antares looked up, he saw Jin Wu in the air, who managed to dodge the attack at the last second. He summoned his army, and all of a sudden, an army of dragons appeared from his shadow and started to rain down towards Antares from the sky. Meanwhile, China's seven-star hunter was taking out the giants that were roaming the streets. After defeating the creature, he said, "Things like giants aren't much of a problem as long as we're not fighting at sea." He thought, all the magic power over land is trembling. There are probably tens of thousands of hunters confronting endless numbers of magic beasts everywhere, especially since I can feel my whole body getting pricked by that magic power at this distance. Back in the fight, we see a huge explosion as chunks of shadows get scattered in the air. Antares asks Jin Wu, "Are those good-for-nothing soldiers all you have? You sent your main forces to the Monarch of Iron Body and tried to fight me with these mere troops." But as he looks towards Jin Wu, he sees him fleeing through a portal. Antares chases after him, thinking, "I won't let him escape so easily, no matter what," and as he appears on the other side of the portal, he is surprised to see the shadow army in front of him. Seeing this, he thinks, has he already absorbed the troops of the Monarch of Iron Body? As he looks to the side, he sees the king of monstrous humanoids in a pathetic situation, where he was missing 3 of his 4 limbs, and Baru was sitting on top of him, looking at him. Antares says, "He defeated the Monarch of Iron Body's troops first and then came after me. Not a bad strategy." He tells Jin Wu that this all was of no use, and we see Yogyamunt standing on top of a building, with the sky filled with many gates. Antares tells Jin Wu, "These are the gates that the Monarch of Transfiguration, Yogyamunt, has prepared. By using these, I can summon as many of my troops as possible." As the sky starts to fill up with the dragons, Antares tells Jin Wu, "Looks like I've completely crushed your plans. This misjudgment of yours will be the cause of your death." But instead of being concerned, Jin Wu starts to smirk. He cancels his summons and calls back all his soldiers. Seeing this, Antares asks for the reason for him doing that and asks if Jin Wu was planning on giving up. He says, "After seeing this overwhelming difference between us, it's not strange for you to give up." All the dragons start to surround Jin Wu, and as the creatures get closer, Jin Wu activates a new ability that he had received. Seeing this, Antares understood what he was planning on doing. From the runestone that came out of Kamish is the skill that's the worst enemy of the dragon race. A roar from the soul that incapacitates everyone and drops them into despair, regardless of whether they're allies or foes. As Jin Wu uses the ability, all the dragons present in the area get affected by it, including Yogyamunt. As Antares was distracted by everything, Jin Wu appears next to him, and grabbing his arm, he tells Antares to follow him. Jin Wu uses Shadow Exchange and starts to teleport away with Antares while Antares was thinking that he has done everything just for this moment. The scene shifts to the island where Jin Wu was staying with his shadow army. He had brought Antares with him to this location. Antares asks where they were, and Jin Wu tells him, "This place is on the opposite side of the world from where your army is." Antares understands Jin Wu's whole plan and says, "In an all-out war, your mana would have depleted much faster, so your plan to bring me here alone is an amazing strategy." Looking at the castle behind Jin Wu, Antares asks if it belongs to him, and Jin Wu tells him yes. Antares comments that, considering it belongs to the Shadow Monarch, it's not that impressive. Jin Wu starts to prepare to fight, summoning his weapon, saying, "I thought that the castle would be perfect to commemorate your death." Antares also starts to transform, saying, "This fight would be about whether I can last until my troops find me or not." In the next second, a gigantic dragon is staring at Jin Wu and his shadow soldiers. Chapter end here. For more, like, share, and subscribe.